Premier, the Dr. the Honorable D. Orlando Smith, the Honorable Mark Van der Poel, Minister for Communications and Works, senior civil servants, distinguished guests, coordinator, facilitator for this event, Mr. Van Sloos and Ms. Saskia Barnes. Good morning.
Good morning.
I now invite the audience to please stand for the singing of the national anthem and the territorial song. Could we stand, please?
To maintain ownership of your precious land. Educating all people is the golden key to maintain the success of this territory. Oh, how radiant are your daughters, how wealthy are your sons. Your beaches boast your beauty, and your success is second to none. They replenish our hopes and pride. Oh, beautiful Virgin Islands, your qualities can never be denied. May God richly bless this territory. May we ask three things of thee: courage for all great leaders, that they may rule our destiny. We ask for wisdom for people, that they may live in harmony. Understanding for our children, that they may cherish His legacy. Sing with me, everyone. Oh, how radiant are your daughters, how wealthy are your sons. Your beaches boast your beauty, and your success is second to none. Green and brilliant are your hillsides, they replenish our hopes and pride. Oh, beautiful Virgin Islands, your qualities can never be denied. Oh, beautiful Virgin Islands, your qualities can never be denied. Thank you.
At this point, I'd invite Reverend Ormany George to come to the podium and to offer a prayer as we commence. Reverend George.
Let us pray. Creator God, we thank you for this new day and every day. You are our strength when our tasks are beyond our powers, and when the duty calls for more than we have to give. Guide our minds and hearts to appreciate the company of one another as we look back over the years of working together and to be ever so grateful, Lord, for your protection and where you have placed us. Guide the minds of all who govern these Virgin Islands. Lord, grant to all the participants peaceful deliberations and nurture their thoughts toward creative ways of helping to bring to bear the overall mission of the government of the Virgin Islands. Lord God, help the Ministry of Communication and Work teams to depart from this retreat with a clear sense of their ministry team, building a better Virgin Islands 2013 to 2023 vision, mission, and action plan. Lord, may we always be sensitive to the needs of others and be responsive to them, and may we reflect the image and spirit of Jesus, who said, I am among you as one who serves. Now direct our lives according to your commandments. Sanctify our souls, hallow our bodies, correct our thoughts, cleanse our minds, deliver us from all tribulations, evil, and distress. Finally, Lord, touch each public servant and any other man and woman in this room with your spirit of peace, that they will find true peace in themselves and portray the joy of your love through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. And now the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be upon all of you and remain with you. Amen.
The Ministry of Communications and Works is dedicated to ensuring the continued development and maintenance of public infrastructure in keeping with international standards, so that public utilities are reliable and affordable in support of an enhanced community life for every resident and visitor of the Virgin Islands. This is the mission of the Ministry for Communications and Works. Let me, first of all, welcome you, each of you, to the Ministry of Communications and Works 2013 retreat. As the word retreat implies, at times we all need to take a break from our normal routines and get away to gather our thoughts and collect ourselves before moving on. Thus, it has come to this point for the Ministry of Communications and Works. With just over a year gone in the current term of this administration, the ministry has been able to gain a better understanding of the problems and challenges it is currently faced with. With this appreciation, it is the ministry's intention to spend today and tomorrow discussing our current challenges and coming up with strategies and initiatives to more effectively deliver our mission. For the sake of clarity and a sense of perspective, the specific objectives of this retreat are to, first of all, we'll be hearing the Premier articulate the state of the territory and the direction he intends to lead the territory in this term and future. To have the Financial Secretary outline the current budgetary realities within which the Ministry of Communication and Works would have to operate. And the Minister of Communication and Works will articulate his strategic vision and come up with output from working groups to be developed into action plans. That's really the aim. The meat of it is to, for the working groups, we'll be dividing ourselves into working groups, and we'll be trying to come up with action plans to go forward. I think the Minister and the government has seen the situation. I think they have a feel for the resources at hand, and thus it is time now to put down somewhat of a strategic way forward. With no further ado, I now invite the Premier, Dr. the Honorable D. Orlando Smith, to the podium for his remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Minister of Communication and Works, Honorable Mark Vanderpool. I see some of the other elected officials here. Honorable Lewis Christopher, good morning. Financial Secretary, Mr. Neil Smith. Yes, in Ministry of Communication and Works, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. When I see so many people here this morning, I said, the several thoughts that go through my head, but one that comes up is, I wonder how many man-hours we're losing today. But that's good. It is good to be here to get together to share ideas. From the Secretary said that I'll be sharing with you my vision for the country going forward. I'd like to, from that point of view, I'd like to refer you all to the budget address that I delivered a little while ago, which basically contains the vision of the government going forward for this year and coming years. Today I'm going to speak more particularly to the efforts and the work of the Ministry of Communication and Works. I'm delighted to be here today to witness what will be the start of a 10-year strategic plan for the territory's infrastructure development. Also noteworthy is the Ministry's creation of a Capital Works Development Plan and Project Management Framework, both of which are integrated into the current budget to ensure successful planning, management, execution, and value for money in the infrastructure development of this territory. The approach is commendable, and I must applaud the Minister of Communication and Works and you, his team, for your aggressive pursuit to improve public infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, when we plan, we get an opportunity to look at risks and brainstorm ideas which results in creativity and innovation. My government is a path towards economic growth, and planning is critical to our proposed direction. As you know, the Ministry of Communications and Works, from the time we wake up in the morning to the time we go to bed, affects our lives tremendously. From our need for a constant flow of water to our faucets, to the consistent flow of electricity to our homes and businesses, safer roads to drive on, to a sewage system that is functional. And let us not forget the ability to communicate, including the use of cell phones and the internet. Ladies and gentlemen, I've said this before, a robust infrastructure is a key component of our economic development and long-term economic growth. It is no surprise that both our economic pillars, tourism and financial services, are impacted by our infrastructure development. Hence the need for the creation of a strategy with a view to further enhance both industries. When we speak of infrastructure development, we must understand how this ties into the socio-economic fabric of this community. Electricity, water and sewage, roads and traffic, airports and seaports are all crucial components of that fabric. The improvement of the fabric is necessary to better accommodate our existing businesses and social climates and better prepare us for the future. In July of last year, I was invited to speak at the launch of the Infrastructure Rehabilitation Project, jointly hosted by the Ministry and the Caribbean Development Bank. One feature of that project was a workshop to train our construction professionals and develop better building practices and strong regulations. This is necessary in preparing those same individuals who will play a key role in the territory's infrastructure development. Those same individuals will be the ones working on the projects laid out in the strategic plan. Today I'm surrounded by, facing action-oriented individuals who are tasked with actually developing the critical plan. This is no small task. Too often the most frequent cause of project failure in economic development schemes has to do with the lack of integrated project planning. The strategic plan will not only streamline this territory's development, but will also address those immediate areas of concern. Planning is about forecasting and forward thinking. It is about developing strategies to guide direction and facilitate proper coordination. Planning helps to increase efficiency. Furthermore, it helps provide proactive measurements so that decision-making is effective. In my 2013 budget address, I highlighted those areas that require close attention, including the state of our roads and our water and sewage distribution infrastructure. As Minister of Finance, keen attention is also given to the Peletcham International Airport expansion and the cruise pier development, both expected to contribute significantly to GDP growth. It cannot be emphasized enough how these projects will also enhance the Virgin Islands tourism industry. Know that the success of this plan is hinged upon the support of this community. Please keep in mind the need to communicate the strategic plan to all potential beneficiaries. The community must feel a sense of ownership of the plan and its forthcoming initiatives. They have to know that government is continuously working towards improving the standard of living and building a better British Virgin Islands. In creating your strategic plan, you must ensure that you match the growth of the needs of our people to the availability of government resources. Please, however, do not allow this to be a setback, as there are and will always be some constraints in the areas of finance, policy, and human resources. Look at it as an opportunity to expand your mind, think outside of the box, and be creative in finding ways to achieve efficient, sustainable infrastructural development over a long period of time. Let us recognize the mammoth tasks ahead. Let us use our resourcefulness to guide the formation of the plan. Let us understand that the future of the territory is not only reliant on what the strategic plan states, but what it must achieve. And that is the sustainable development of the Virgin Islands. If we fail to plan, it means that we plan to fail. And I can assure you that good planning is a cornerstone to good governance, and my government recognizes the importance of good governance. I'd like to express my thanks, my sincere appreciation to the Minister of Communication and Works, Honorable Mark Vanderpool, for undertaking this project, and wish him and his team all the best in developing this strategic plan to guide the growth of the territory's infrastructure development. And thank you.
At this point, I'd like to invite the Financial Secretary, Mr. Neil Smith, to come to the podium to offer some remarks.
Premier, Minister for Communications and Works, member for the 5th District, and obviously member of the House of Assembly. Greetings. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of my colleagues. I consider all of you here my colleagues. I would like to lend your ears for a few minutes. You know, there's a saying that we have in the Ministry of Finance, or well, I have it anyway. It says, all men dream, but not equally. And those that dream in the dusty recesses of their minds at night, awake and find that it was only vanity. However, the men that dream by day are dangerous men, for they live out their dreams to make them reality. How many of you have seen this document yet? It is the budget for 2013 to 2015. In it is the Premier's plans for the next 3 years. In it is also a budget report that outlines the financial and to some extent economic situation which we faced with. And in it as well some projections and some plans, again, for the future, articulated not at the high level that the Premier would articulate his vision, but at a slightly lower level, in a little more, not exactly technical terms, but in terms that bureaucrats like ourselves can understand. The environment in which we currently operate is very much different to the one that we operated in 10 years ago. Today, well, in 2002, for example, we had recurrent balances, that is, balances that were left after you compare revenues and operational expenditures. These recurrent balances were in the region of $40.5 million. By 2009, this has fallen to $18.8 million. But fortunately for us, by the end of 2011, this had gone up to $43.4 million. Mostly in part to some slightly draconian measures that were taken in the latter part of 2011. Fiscal balances, on the other hand, which are the balances when you include capital expenditure, went from negative $37.5 million went from negative $37.5 million in 2002, but by the end of 2011 was 39.9. Not much of a movement between both times, but in between there was some fluctuations. During that time period as well, the rate of expenditure had outstripped the rate of growth of revenue. So the rate at which we were spending was growing at a quicker rate than the rate at which revenues were increasing. And in cases where revenue for a short period, the rate of growth in revenue might have outstripped the rate of growth of expenditure, this was due wholly to humps or performance in the financial services sector. Since 2007, revenue has been flat and even fell in 2009, with a recovery period between 2010 and 2011. And again, when we measure the components of revenue, the major category, the one that is making it go up or making it fall, is financial services. This means, brethren, well, not brethren, colleagues, apologize. This means that more and more we are becoming more dependent on one industry, and we're becoming more vulnerable as time goes by. In addition, it will show, if you look at the figures carefully, and I really urge you to read this budget document, the budget report especially, you notice that as time goes by, there is less and less disposable income or unallocated income to spend on capital projects, which means more and more we're having to depend on debt, borrowing from banks to fund our infrastructure or infrastructure development. In 2002, we had a outstanding debt of some $40 million. Today, outstanding debt is $113 million. When taken in the context of GDP growth, we notice then as well that the growth of public expenditure relative to GDP growth has increased from 25% a decade ago to 31% today. And revenue has also grown. Revenue to the government of the Virgin Islands has also grown from 23% a decade ago to 31% today. This shows, on one side, that the government of the Virgin Islands as an institution has outpaced the growth in the government, has outpaced the growth of the economy in the Virgin Islands. In effect, the government of the Virgin Islands is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger when taken in context with the entire economy. When this fact is taken together with the economy of the Virgin Islands, it says that our standard of living, as year goes by, is becoming increasingly vulnerable to shocks. It suggests as well, because we have a bigger government, which implies bigger relative government, which implies a smaller relative private sector, that in some ways we're losing some of the imagination and innovation that is characteristic of vibrant economies. It suggests, and for me, as someone in public finance, quite alarmingly so, that central government is perhaps becoming swiftly the only trick in town. Though this is a topic of debate, and economists will debate this, generally speaking, where we have economies that have very large governments, and when I say large governments, I mean large relative to the rest of the economy, they normally find themselves eventually in economic decline. The cost of services to the people become misaligned with the quality of service that the people are getting. The economy loses its vigor, and eventually the standard of living of its citizens is threatened. The figures in this document that you should read show that we have been trending towards this in past years. So I believe that we may agree that state of play is not an acceptable one. So what is the solution? The Premier and the Minister of Finance, they get along very well, have been championing for some time the need for efficient, effective, and transparent government. Efficient in that we should be able to do more with the resources that we have. Effective in that the innovations and programs will be more useful to the citizens of the territory. And transparent in that the decisions that are made will be clear and the rationale behind them articulated truthfully. In other words, we are mandated as technocrats carrying out the policies or effecting the policies of our elected officials. And in the Ministry of Communications and Works, especially in this particular case, it is expected that with the $32 million in new funds that you've been allocated in the 2013 budget, and with the additional $16 million that you're expected to access in this same year, that you'll be able to fulfill this mandate of effective, efficient, and transparent allocation of resources. That is the context in which we operate. Our fiscal analysis, again, is shown in this document, shows that we have been on a consistent trend that suggests that sometime in the future there will not be enough revenue to meet our operational expenditure. That is a worrying issue. But the solution is twofold to this. And as the Premier stated repeatedly, we must grow the economy so that there will be more taxes to collect and more jobs for people to fill. And on the other hand, he places on us the mandate of efficient, effective, transparent, and credible management of the resources that they have allocated to us. And Minister, I hope I'm not taking too long, but I don't get out much, so. So, in order to do this, we must have accurate and timely information, use this information to manage ourselves wisely and credibly by following globally accepted standards on reporting and decision making. And critical to this process is how we report on our fiscal resources, how we manage them, and how we make decisions. It is here that the Ministry of Finance comes in. Protocols for effective financial management or not, we must manage our fiscal resources properly and wisely. We must get the most bang for our buck. If we fail to do this, we are not doing our jobs. The Ministry of Finance, acting as the soldiers, so to speak, for the Minister of Finance, is charged with overseeing this process. And with the increasing urgency and increasing calls on the fiscal resources that we have available, the decisions that are made must be good ones. There's no room for mistakes. It is in this light, then, that we view the protocols for effective financial management not as a straitjacket, but as a guide on how we should do things. And I should remind you that you might remember that many of the provisions, or most of the provisions in the protocols for effective financial management are indeed provisions that the Minister of Finance, before he went on sabbatical, so to speak, those are things that he wanted to do in the first place. So we've come full circle. I also know that the DFS, Mr. Wendell Gaskin, has spoken to your FPOs, your FPO, and all the other FPOs in general, finance and planning officers, and you as a ministry, I'm sure, on your fiduciary responsibilities as public officers. He spent some time with your finance and planning officer, Ms. Green, in explaining what is expected of her in being the, so to speak, CFO for the Ministry of Communications and Works. He would have explained the new reporting line directly to the Financial Secretary, where we would be able to articulate without fear of hindrance what we expect from the finance and planning officers. It is this point in that with the mandate that we have set for ourselves, and please always remember this, that the Premier has set these mandates for us to manage wisely, to plan in the medium term, and to have accurate information, that we really don't have a choice. The goal of the Ministry of Finance then has always been to help ministries to achieve as much of their goals as possible with the limited fiscal resources they have. But we cannot do this if we are in effect wasting these fiscal resources. They must be done efficiently and effectively. If our plans are not properly developed, then you'll have some problems with the Ministry of Finance. Because we also feel that we have an obligation to your minister. He has some mandates that are laid out in the budget, and we have a mandate to get him to achieve those things. If we find that for some reason your mandate for some reason is not aligned with his, we will, I guarantee you, cross swords. So therefore, I ask you to follow the financial instructions as they're issued. Cooperate with us. And as I said in the beginning, or implied in the beginning, let us be daydreamers. Let us not dream about things in the night, to wake up in the morning to find that it was just vanity, just a dream. Let us dream in the day and make the things happen for the minister. And as the Premier said, plan well. You know, we have a motto in the Ministry of Finance that says, plan your dive, and then dive that plan. So, I hope that what I've said, and I apologize if it was too long, that what I said would have put things in context. What we're looking at here is the future of the BVI. And it is on our shoulders as a civil service rests the responsibility after they've been given to us by elected representatives to carry out the programs to guarantee the future of our children and their children and their children's children. So please, cooperate with us. I hope that what I've said would have contextualized things a bit. This document here, you should read it well. It says on it, the path towards economic growth. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Financial Secretary Smith. Before we move on, I'd just like to take this opportunity to recognize the presence of the Minister for Education and Culture, the Honorable Myron Walling. We'd like to bring up the remarks by the Honorable Mark Van der Poel, Minister for Communications and Works. At this point, I invite Honorable Van der Poel to the lectern.
Thank you, Mr. Penn. Honorable Premier, Honorable Minister of Education and Culture, Mr. Myron Warren, our 5th District Representative, Ms. Dolores Christopher, any other members and House of Assembly members, I want to greet our Financial Secretary at the head table. Thank him for his very clear and welcoming remarks this morning, and also want to recognize his deputy, Mr. Gaskin, and the team. I also welcome Permanent Secretary in the Premier's office and the rest of the senior members of the government. I want to recognize and welcome all of our guests and visitors and the press for being here this morning. I want to recognize our team led by our Acting Permanent Secretary, Mr. Gary Penn. Give him a round of applause, please. Along with his other team leaders, Mr. Anthony McMaster, where you are, stand so we can see you. Anthony, you know you're a little bit small but short. Good team. And other team leader, Dr. Drexel Glasgow in the ministry, heading up our projects and infrastructure development. And up-and-coming team leader, Mr. Anthony St-Hilaire. Andrew, I call him Anthony. Andrew St-Hilaire. This group will be leading the teams in the discussions this next couple of days, the various teams. I want to thank my support team, new role starting this month. Advisor to the Minister, Mr. Vance Lewis. Please give him a round of applause in the back there. And my good support staff, Mrs. Betsy Smith-Hanley, Betsy, and her assistant, Ms. Felina Moss. Thanks to the port, the statutory bodies who are here, Ports Managing Director, Mr. Claude Skelton-Klein, and your team, and your chairman is here, Mr. Eddie Castro. I want to welcome the Electricity Corporation's General Manager, who is here with us today, Mr. Leroy Abrams, and his deputy, Mr. Henry Quickie. And am I seeing Mr. Parker there? Or is he hiding behind there? You know he's not so tall. Mr. Alan Parker, the chairman of the board. Please give him a big round of applause. Welcome there. And any other board members from the Taxi and Delivery Commission, and your team, the rest of the ministry's team and the other departments and units. I want to say a big welcome to you, and we'll be talking a little more closely as we go along, so I'll get a little closer to you. I want to say that it is with great enthusiasm this morning that we as a ministry spend some time on our planning retreat here this weekend. I'm very enthusiastic about it. We've been talking about this for about 6 months. We have now gotten down to planning it, and as I told my team, this is the year for the Ministry of Communications and Works. As my good minister colleague, for all year long, he's been teasing me because I enter the rooms and say, this is the year of Minister of Works and Communications and the Ministry of Works and Communications. 2013 is our year. Am I right? I am thankful to all of you, all of our managers in the ministry and our departments, units, and our statutory boards for seeing the importance of this retreat and making it your duty, not just to show up this morning, but I know that you gather here with a lot of anticipation and a lot of vigor to actively participate in the sessions and to think broadly and boldly as we endeavor to build a better Virgin Islands. Over the course of these upcoming days and weeks, we will seek to realize our vision, renew our mission, and create an action plan that will take us through 2015, at the time my time expires, and others. But we will be setting a firm foundation over the next 10 years to 2013 and beyond for the next generations to come. So you will be playing an important role this weekend in that direction. I want you to understand, and I want you to realize, and I want to encourage you that this is an awesome responsibility and an awesome task. But I am very confident that as a team in the Ministry of Communications and Works, we are prepared and up to the task to build this strong foundation going into the next 10 years. So we look forward to a very good retreat this weekend. Many years ago, the Virgin Islands began its journey to modernity under the leadership of past chief ministers and premiers and ministers of works, such as the late Honorable H. Labby Stout, Honorable Ralph T. O'Neill, Premier Dr. D. Orlando Smith, currently communications and work ministers of the past, such as the late Terence B. Letsom, the late Alban Anthony, Honorable Alvin Christopher, the late Paul P. Watley, late Honorable Elmo Stout, and my recent predecessor, Honorable Julian Fraser. They all sought to see the Virgin Islands build safe road networks connecting villages to our capital city, build ports infrastructure that allowed for the importation of cargo into the territory and the development of our cruise tourism industry, the availability of electricity, water, sewage lines, and the oversight of a reliable telecommunications infrastructure. We must recognize our leaders of the past who have put their efforts into this, and we are now here to try to continue. However, despite our advances, the reality is that the Virgin Islands remain in its infancy in infrastructural development. When we look at the meaning of the world-class infrastructure as it states and our role as administrators to develop our Virgin Islands infrastructure, we must first really understand that we are charged with building the systems in which our entire country operates. Members of the Ministry of Communications and Works, team members, that is a significant responsibility that all of us share, and one that we must now more than ever endeavor to add to its maturity. Now is the time in the Virgin Islands to take a leap forward and do the necessary work of developing a sound infrastructure that will support the economic and the social growth of this country, the Virgin Islands. 2013 is the year of the Ministry of Communications and Works, as I said earlier. This is the year when we will deliver the most projects. The year when we will set the most policies. The year when we will reorganize and restructure departments and statutory bodies where necessary. Propose new and/or amend legislation towards the improvement of laws in the interest of better government or governance for the people of this territory, and build the crucial components of the territory's infrastructure to last for a very long time. Over the next 3 years, we will accomplish better road networks, an improved sewage system, provide water to most of the residents throughout the territory, and vastly improve our ports throughout the territory of the Virgin Islands. And speaking of ports, the ports of the territory everywhere on Anegada, Virgin Gorda, even South Island, Van Dyke, and especially here in Tortola and others, play a key role in the existence of the life of a resident and gives the first and last impression to our visitors who come to our shores. Our ports are a centerpiece for commerce, especially in the importation of goods into the territory. In short, the ports of the Virgin Islands in the past shaped a large slice of our economy. It plays a large role today, and it will play an even larger role tomorrow. For the remainder of this year and the next 3 years, the ports will play a major role. 10 years from now, what we will achieve, perhaps with us becoming one of the major transportation points in the Caribbean, from and to the rest of the world, including Asia, won't be by accident. What we achieve through our ports won't be by accident, but by what this retreat will be planning this weekend based on this government's agenda as promised in its manifesto agenda as laid out in 2011. There will be a new cruise ship port. It will be under construction beginning before the summer of this year. There will be a new cruise ship port. Do I get a round of applause for that? Thank you. Do nothing, and nothing will happen. Chief Fire Officer, Mr. Zebulon McLean. Do nothing, and nothing will happen. This government got a bleak cruise ship passengers arrivals forecast last year, and that caused us to whip into action immediately, traveling to Miami, Curacao, Marseille, France, on the phone to cruise lines to ensure that our cruise tourism didn't fall flat on its face as a result of inaction in the past. So the sight of ships daily over the last several weeks and the sight of 3 ships in the port yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, is not by accident. Sewage. The issue of sewage remains a vexing problem for all of us. Wherever we live in the districts, whether we live in the district of East End or Long Loop, all of us come to our capitals, the capital city of Road Town, and on some days, we definitely do not smell like nature's little secrets. I want to say thanks to the hard work and dedication of our team at Water and Sewage, Public Works, some of our contractors, and others in the private sector. We have managed to make headway in finally trying to resolve Road Town sewage woes and the Eastern Long Loop sewage woes. However, we still have a lot of work to do. Over the next 3 years, our ministry will once and for all, under the strong direction and urging and insistence of our Premier, along with the insistence and urging of the District 7 representative and our Deputy Premier, Honorable Dr. Kedrick Pickering, and a little nuisance in the 8th District, Mr. Honorable Marlon Penn, who is on my case always. We will fix the sewage problem in Eastern Long Loop once and for all. Do I have a round of applause for that? We will also begin to plan for sewage systems for villages with growing populations, such as the Valley and Virgin Gorda and the Sound and Seacoast Bay here in Tortola and elsewhere in the western part of our territory. We cannot continue to invest in marketing our islands as a premier destination for financial services and tourism, and for us to live, if we cannot simply prevent our waste from simply running through the streets of Eastern Long Loop, Road Town, and elsewhere. We have to live up to that image that we sell to the world, and we must improve the quality of life we have for people right here on our islands. That is the task of proper sewage management and planning, and I am confident that over this weekend that we will continue to put plans in place that will overcome these problems within this year, the next several years, and over the next 10 years. Ladies and gentlemen, team members, as we travel on our roadways, we all can agree that there are opportunities to create safer road networks in the territory. We can no longer have some districts with nicely paved, wide and well-drained roads, while other villages are built around roads that are impassable with the slightest rain shower. We must begin to plan roadways that are wide enough for the vehicles we now drive, safer turns and pull-offs, roads with proper drainage systems, and roads that are built to modern standards which can last us for the next 25 years. Those are the types of investments that we as a territory must now seek to envision and create, to plan, to achieve. From East End to West End, Anegada, Yos Van Dyke, Virgin Gorda, our roadways must be improved to facilitate economic home ownership, or economy home ownership, and residential opportunities for all of our residents. And I don't think the Financial Secretary and the Minister of Finance think they were here by accident. We wanted to let them know that they're important for us to write those checks. Mr. Gaskin. Energy. For many years, our energy has been developed purely from fossil fuel and supplied to businesses and residents using the traditional means. The time has now come, and I think you know, hearing from the Electricity Corporation and from the Ministry, the time has now come for us to truly enter the 21st century and recognize that we too, here in the Virgin Islands, must do our part in protecting the environment and develop alternate methods for the supply of energy to all of us. So ladies and gentlemen, over the next 3 years, in conjunction with the BVI Electricity Corporation, we will modernize our legislation governing energy development, reduce consumption of electricity by some 30% by implementing various conservation methods, and implement renewable energy systems which will diversify the way we will produce our energy here in the Virgin Islands. Do I get a round of applause? Thank you. By 2023, our territory will have almost half of its energy produced by renewable means over the next 10 years. If we don't do something, nothing will happen. This will result in a smaller carbon footprint for our territory and allow us to do our part in reducing global warming. We are also investigating means which will enable us to have broadband in every school in order to facilitate new ways of learning, Honorable Minister. You will be glad to hear that. Maybe I get a clap from you. This will be the forerunner for us to develop a more diversified, reliable, and truly world-class internet system which will power our economy of the future in these beautiful Virgin Islands. I am never shy, as you all know, when it comes to the city of Rotown. It has a special place in this minister's heart. And of course, it's in the district for which I represent. While I'm proud to say I am a man from this district, Rotown should be a capital that we all should be proud to say is the center of commerce and where our government resides, and a city that all of us throughout the territory can stand and be proud of. Am I right? So whether you're from East, whether you're from West, whether you're from the settlement, whether you're from Great Harbor or North Sound, Rotown remains the capital of these beautiful Virgin Islands. With wisdom, some years back, our Premier, the Chief Minister at the time, sensibly appointed a city manager to preside over the development and management of our capital. Today, we are proud to have, helping us out to get it started at least, Mrs. Janice Bradford Edwards as our city manager and her team as she develops it, working very arduously to look at the needs of Rotown as we develop, speak with business owners and residents so that we can find opportunities to revitalize and develop and build our city. Give Ms. Edwards a big round of applause. And one of the first fruits of her labor, you will see us opening very soon the Craft Alive Revitalize project. Within this year, it is my ministry's intention to create a city management board to assist in the running of our capital and development of it. That board will be charged with liaising with various government departments and the private sector partners for us to launch a revitalization plan for Rotown. We will revive historic Main Street and make it a place of commerce for residents and visitors. We will build a boardwalk to create more opportunities for commerce for Virgin Islanders and to enjoy the beauty of our waters and the city of Rotown. Giving our tourists also more options to take in the Virgin Islands. And finally, we will provide additional vending opportunities in the city to ensure that we can create designated areas in the city for our food vendors and others around town. As we see this situation going a bit out of hand, we will want to work closely with our vendors to ensure that they too can enjoy the benefits of trade in the territory, but in a more organized and decent way. It is within all of our interests to redevelop Rotown and re-energize the opportunities for commerce to add to our local economy, that we all can enjoy it, and I believe the development of Rotown will provide these opportunities. In concluding, I want you to know that this minister, this government, and this Ministry of Communications and Works, despite sometimes the gloomy picture that you may see or hear or think, or that you may hear from the Financial Secretary sometimes, we want you to know that we are optimistic about a better Virgin Islands this year, 2013, a better Virgin Islands over the next 3 years, and we will be working hard together over this weekend on this retreat to plan and to set strong foundations for solid infrastructural growth over the next 10 years through 2023. You must understand and you must know that this minister and this team recognize there will be criticisms, that everyone won't agree, but one thing we will let you know, that we are making our plans that we believe, with the input from the territory and residents, and those plans we are very, very confident and intend to implement them over the next 3 years. We will not stop. We are here to govern, manage, and to build this territory, and that we will do. Do I get a round of applause for that? So as you move on to your sessions in a little while, I want to again encourage all of you to think outside of the box. Consider a Virgin Islands that you would like to hand over to your children, and a Virgin Islands that all of us can be proud to say that together, over this weekend, we were a part of a team that saw green energy utilized across our islands. I want to say that we were a part of the Ministry of Communications and Works team that expanded our road networks. We were part of the Ministry of Communications and Works team that made our roads safer. The team that finally fixed our sewage systems, the team that extended public water supply to at least 95% of the territory, the team, the Communications and Works team, that expanded our cruise ship pier, that bolstered our tourism sector, and the Ministry of Communication and Works team that delivered to the people of the Virgin Islands a better electrical system, less dependent on fossil fuels, and the team of the Ministry of Communication and Works that delivered to the people of the Virgin Islands a modern infrastructural system that supports all other industries and ways of life in the territory of the Virgin Islands. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to be a part of that team, and I hope by the end of this weekend that you will be enthusiastic and proud to have been and will be a part of the Ministry of Communications and Works team. Thank you very much, and I look forward to our discussions over the course of the next few days. Thank you.